But you got to have friends. The feelings are so strong. You got to have friends to make that day last long. I had some friends, but they're gone. Someone came and took them away, and from the dusk till the dawn. Here is where I'll stay, standing at the end of the road, boys, waiting for my new friends to come. I don't care if I'm hungry or cold. I'm gonna get me some of them, 'cause you got to have friends.
When television began, it started as a shadow, moving images of white and grays, which in time developed into the more accurate and colorful medium of today. As these portrayals were transferred to electronic permanence, first on film, then on videotape, it congratulated those responsible for that transformation. These individuals, who began in the industry when it too was young, have become the co-founding fathers of this entertainment majesty. Creativity on the screen has always been paralleled by the genius given to its electronics and its effects. We appreciate these efforts, as our industry appreciates its prosperity. It's an accomplishment shared by the special people who not only forecasted success, but also found the means to make it work. And the pay wasn't too bad either. We take this opportunity to congratulate all those retiring. In looking back at the shadow, we realize that basics never depart. They just sit back, relax, and enjoy the golden years.
Well, hello, all you wonderful people. Hey, are you ready for your Super Circus fun? She may be weary. Women do get weary. Same shabby dress.
Be kind to your parents. You know they deserve it. Remember the grown-ups.
Jim Lounsbury back here on the Record Hop, 3:30 on Saturday afternoon, Channel 7 out of Chicago.
Observe his flame, that placid dame, the moon's celestial highness.
Very good. That was just great. And here is your Toastmaster, Don McNeil. Good morning, breakfast lovers. Good morning to ya. We woke up bright and early. Just a howdy do ya. It's Bobby's call to breakfast. For all of you out there, America right for breakfast hop is on the air.
Hello. Yes, we're having a celebration to end all celebrations. Well, I don't know. What are we celebrating?
Too much mustard in the pot and makes the beans too hot. Your kisses hit the spot. Just cool it down. Too much ketchup, too much spice can spoil the shrimp and rice. Oh, babe, take my advice. Cool those kisses down.
Thank you very much. Time since we've all seen her, I think when we all get a look at her, I will recognize her very readily. She has a very charming voice, and she truly is a very charming young lady. Here she is, Paula Ray.
Lover, when I'm near you and I hear you speak my name.
A few footnotes about this operation. The procedure, we're going to make a short incision
Holy shit.
Softly in my ear, you breathe a pain.
And we've had a lot of difficulties bringing this program to you, technical difficulties.
All of my future is in you.
There's 3 jokes. Pick out one, won't you?
Promise you'll always continue to be mine.
Courtesy Motors has 2 fine programs a week.
And you hear me calling him, hey lover, come back to
Is it? This is the place where each weekday at 8:30 we present 2 hours of live and lively television entertainment. This is the morning show.
As our title off the cuff suggests, our guests engage in 2 hours of completely unrehearsed, completely spontaneous conversation.
WBKB in Chicago.
This is Chuck Bill once again with our TV special of the evening.
White rain, use new white rain shampoo tonight, and tomorrow your hair will be sunshine bright.
Pard is the finest dog food you can feed. So good, dogs call it Pard Burger.
Only Philco has it.
The truest picture ever seen is yours with Philco Balance Beam. Only Philco has it.
$16.50 for this 1950 Chevrolet. $11.95 for this $1,195 for this 1948 Mercury. It's a car that can be yours for as little as
$55 million. I really knew about this all the time. I just wanted to hear you say.
Where you save does make a difference.
Do you suppose you could reduce that to words I could use to the girls at the Fancy Doers and the Busy Thinkers Club?
Oh, that's easy, Aunt Fanny.
He said what you see on the outside of your skin is only the top of the pimple.
Yes, roll around, that's it. Now, can't you make yourself freer, a little freer all over, just a little the head and the shoulders and everything freer.
Another on American Swing Around.
Pretty red wine, pretty red wine, pretty red wine, pretty red wine. 30 years, Channel 7, 30 years, Channel 7, 30 years, Channel 7.
I remember one time when we were rather apprehensive about going home early, and this was just the one time.
Yeah, it doesn't happen
It doesn't
often.
happen, no. It doesn't happen very often.
There are many NABET people who believe they've been made pathological freeloaders, you know.
So we were rather concerned. The whole crew was standing around, or part of the crew that was going to, sort of go home a little bit, maybe 10 or 15 minutes early.
Yeah.
And we weren't really sure about it. So somebody said, well, gee, the thing to do is to call somebody in the office and find out, if they're still there, if they'd be
Right.
checking. So we called on two different phones, one right after the other, to see if they were in the office. So the first phone call went through, and there was no answer. The second phone call went through. There was an answer, but it was the secretary. So we hung up right away, and out we went. There was nobody else in the office but the secretary. There was nobody to really check on us. So that really isn't a good story, but I mean, as far as checking, we were thorough. We were really thorough. I mean, we weren't, really trying to screw the company too much, but just enough.
Is it true? It turned out that the office got on an economy kick. And so everybody, all the engineers that were scheduled and had any blank time, or they'd be scheduled in for a studio and then 2 hours later to another studio for another show.
Right.
Those 2 hours, they were assigned to maintenance. And they said, tell me to keep them busy. So about the only way you can do that is on maintenance, routine maintenance. So I filled out a bunch of yellow cards. And they call me old yellow card to this day. Things like go in and look at this power supply, serial number so-and-so, located at such and such a place, test all the tubes and dust the thing off, come back, fill it out. We had studios over in the Daily News building at the time, so they'd take the card and go over there, and on the way back they'd fill out the card and throw it in the river.
We had a party scheduled, I think it was a Pinochle Club or something. And so what happened was it was with Bob Kamen and his wife were involved. And I got a call for a +8, and I refused it because I had this party scheduled. Bob Kamen got the call, and he took it. So it blew our whole party. But anyway, that's what happened. I don't remember who else was involved, but it was Bob Kamen took the +8. I didn't get the +8, but the party was blown.
My father came up to me one morning and he says, Ray, he says, you're getting a little older now, why don't you become a fireman? I told my father, well, I'll tell you. I'll go down to Hubbard Street and I'll take the examination. So what did I do? I ended up at a Rialto theater at a burlesque show. So I came home and my father says, how'd you make out? I says, they didn't accept me. I'm too small. He says, you dirty liar, where did you go? I says, I never did tell him. Oh, that's a hard job. I tell you, Telescene was so much easier than being a fireman.
Well, we used to do the Paul Harvey show. Remember that?
Sure.
And he was on television for a change. He was always on radio, but he decided he wanted to try television. And he had a red phone sitting on his desk. Remember that?
Yes.
Were you there then?
He was in Studio A, wasn't it?
Yeah, Studio A. And he said, and we asked him one day, what's the red phone for, Paul? He says, that's for all late coming news, incoming news. He says, that's the hotline. So that phone sat there, and it sat there, and it sat there, never rang. So finally one day, the telephone rings, and Paul Harvey says, "Ha-ha!" And his eyes light up, they're really twinkling. And he runs over and he grabs the phone, and he says, Paul Harvey here. And he says, Kish? Kish who?
Frank Kish was a stagehand. Got a call during the show.
Remember when he used to blow through the hole in the...
Yes.
Yeah, that was on Wayne.
Oh, Chuck Bill's show.
Chuck Bill, too.
Yeah,
I did on Wayne
Adventure
in the
Theater.
And he got through, and he was sitting down. I said, your fly is open. And he looked at me, and he says, no way, can you see it? He was sitting behind the desk.
I remember we used to whistle through that hole in that thing.
Yeah, that was for the Zoom line.
Yeah, you remember. Oh, yeah. And also, I want to say about Ben. No, you don't want to go about any of that a little bit. Do you remember all those hours you put in making those spot reels? Yeah.
Never made a spot reel. I missed out on all that.
The many
Can't say too much. Roy is here.
This happened to be a holiday, and I think it was Columbus Day. And John Dancaster and his wife and my wife and I, we were out camping. And we went to Governor Dodge Campground in Wisconsin. And we were climbing the rocks. And we came around a corner, and who do we see but Bill Nobles? Now, I knew that Bill Nobles was scheduled to work that day.
A NABET man?
A NABET man. He called in ill.
Yeah.
And probably nothing would have been said about the incident had Mr. Nobles kept his mouth shut. But he had to brag about the fact that he met us out there.
There was a woman come down to buy a batch of some of that 30%, 50% stuff. She had one of these broad rim hats. She had to hold it, you know, in the wind like that. A clutch purse in her hand, bundle of groceries or bundle of supplies that she bought at the sporting goods. And she got to the bus, and of course, the bus driver stopped right smack dab in front of her. So she went to reach up like that, you know, and step in the bus. She can't reach it. So she reaches back and she pulled her zipper down. Put her hand back up and tried to make it again. Again, she couldn't make it. So she reached back again, pulled the zipper down farther, holding herself like that. And the guy behind her, a young construction worker, he's getting pretty impatient. So he picks her up bodily, sets her in the bus, and she wheeled around on her high heels, and she says, "How dare you? I don't even know you." He says, "Well, I thought we ought to be pretty well acquainted after pulling my zipper down 3 times.
I can remember a lot of happy moments with Chuck Bill.
Yeah,
he was a lot of fun. I miss him.
Yeah.
I felt very sad when I heard he passed away.
Yeah,
I really did.
But he pulled some numbers.
Yes. He would come in every day and check with telephone operators. He would announce himself at the door, you know, in his usual manner, which was always different. It's something like, "Okay, ladies, get your clothes off now. I'm going to get the fuzzballs out of your navels."
Where we recorded Paul Harvey, he normally fed live into New York at 10:30 in the morning, and then we taped it, and we would play it back for the Central Time Zone at 12 o'clock. And very often what would happen is, between the time that it was recorded and 12 o'clock, another story would break, and they'd want to update the tape. Well, the way it would be done, very often, they would run the original tape up until the story that they wanted to cut. The announcer would be in the, Fred Casper would read the updated story, and by that time we were supposed to fast forward the tape to the place where we're supposed to come in with the tape again, see?
Right.
And then we just flip them together, and you got a complete show. Well, at this particular time, there was a story about some gal was some famous movie star was having a baby, and I think they were cutting that story out, and there was a story about a boat story in there, and the boat story had a message. I wonder how much water is in one of those things. Well, that was supposed to be cut out. So the broadcast as it went, it had the story about the gal having the baby, and when we come back into the tape, we got the part that says, "I wonder how much water is in one of those things." And it went out on the air, and there was nothing we could do about it except laugh.
if I mention ABC, I'm sure some stories must come to mind, things that happened in the past that you might remember. Can you think of anything?
I knew you was going to ask that. But
yeah, I know.
The mind goes blank.
Well, I mean, you don't have time to think about it. I'm putting you on camera now. Let's see how swift you are.
I'm not
see how
swift.
Tough.
I'm not tough. I'm not swift. I'm retarded.
Yeah. You got a kick on you, I'll tell you. Do you remember anything about the maintenance department and anybody putting anything in the wrong way?
I wouldn't dare say it if I did.
How about the boys behaving down when they were working for you in the maintenance department?
Oh, they were a rowdy bunch. Mean.
Mr. Cusack was conducting a tour.
Oh, no, I don't remember a thing.
You remember that?
Dirty dog, you.
And,
you dirty dog, you.
They, Ed Lombard, we had the old extra rack beside the videotape machines, and Ed Lombard goes back and he opens his Cusack
did.
Opened the empty rack, and there's Dick Brimner in there eating a sandwich.
That's a terrible story.
And Lombard, always quick, he leaps in and says, oh, we keep him on standby there in case we need an extra man.
Do you recall any incidents that stick in your mind that you sort of chuckle over?
One time on Super Circus, I was photographing a bear, and he come after the camera.
He came in.
He come right at the camera. Something about planting bushes.
Yeah, they.
Then they
of course,
gave
you
him
left
away.
with the bushes.
They gave them away after the show.
They gave them away, and
but they sprayed something on them to make them dead.
Yeah,
to
and
kill them.
you had to dig all those bushes.
No, I took them home and they grew.
Did they really?
Oh, sure they did. They grew pretty high.
I heard that you brought them back to work.
No, I never
the
did
next
that.
year and told Maloney, you better get these things fixed.
In those days, says, hey, Dan, come on out here and tell us about your newborn baby. So I'm out there, and I'm telling him about this big bump I got on my head, you know, and the bandage I got here. And all of a sudden, there, 20 minutes into the show, I'm on a camera for 20 minutes. He says, by the way, you got your sweater inside out. I said, oh, I have? It was an English sweater anyways, and you can't tell, you know, the English are rather poor and deaf. So and then they point the camera down and they said, besides, you got two different shoes on. I wasn't excited about having to get it all, you know. I had the wrong sweater on, the inside out, and two different shoes.
Did they pay you for the on-camera appearance?
Not in those days. Mr. Horseman was not the type to pay, if you remember him.
I remember another time that we were doing a Hall of Fame football game in Canton, and I had never done this camera before, and it was an introduction of the 4 football players who were going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And we had everything all set, and then it started raining, and we went in the auditorium, and then it cleared up, and then we went back outside again, and all this hullabaloo. And the people came in a Greyhound bus with their wives and the players and who were introduced. And we were doing fine on camera, and Farnham was on one camera and I'm on the other. And Chet Forty is directing, and he says, get on the bus. Wow, the hell does he want with a Greyhound bus? So I showed him the Greyhound bus, and he's screaming and hollering, God damn it, the bus. Farnham, he picked up on it, and he showed a table where it had the BUST, the bust of the players. And it was covered because it was raining on it. I don't know.
Oh, a few laughs. What the hell,
man? My son, Mike, he's my pal.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of him.
Well, you should be. You know, I remember one thing about Mike. Two things I remember about Mike.
Oh, I remember. Very proud of him. He's my buddy.
I worked as a radio network news writer, and from there I went to television. I was a producer and a writer for Alex Dreyer on Network News and also locally.
And Elmer Turner you worked with?
And I worked with Elmer Turner. And then from there I became bureau chief of the Midwest Bureau and worked during the real hard times when there were blizzards and riots in Detroit and Newark and every place else and Milwaukee. And then became on the assignment desk and that's where I've been ever since. So it's been a rewarding career, and it's really been, you look back upon it, an awful lot of fun.
Yeah.
I met an awful lot of great people. A lot of people are here tonight, and like I say, it's been fun.
The laughs we had, George Lucky and I had so many laughs when you were General John Duck.
When I was General John Duck, it was always great. You didn't have to laugh. It was when the other guys tried doing General John Duck that you had trouble.
Yes.
Especially when we were on Conway show. I remember a couple times when you came in, Ray.
Bob, you're not supposed to be saying this now.
No, what was this, Ray?
Wait a second, Bob.
All right. Tell me about these things that we did in those days. Tell me how you went down the sidewalk because it wasn't safe on the street with your car.
No! Wait a minute. You're throwing it back now. Wait a minute. Well, we're going to miss you as an e-board member also, a great steward.
Yes.
Good steward. You stood up for a lot of the things.
There, to be honest with you. I want to miss everybody there. The company, I'm not going to miss them too much, to be honest with you.
I think they're going to miss you with your performance, so really.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss all the guys.
You know, I'm not used to being on this end of the microphone. I should be holding that thing.
That's right. I know you have.
No, but it's been a pleasure to work for ABC. You know, I was sent over here as a part-time type of thing here. Back in 1966 when I thought, well, I'll be there for a couple of years and then go on to different things. But as you know, it's been 20 years, and it's been 20 years of very, very enjoyable. Well, there have been times when I've been ready to pull my hair out on certain things, but all in all, among all the companies here in Chicago, I think ABC has probably been the best, and I'm glad I did stick with ABC.
I remember one time there was a fella who was getting ready to play back a show. And this was very important because this was network.
Yeah.
And this fella, he took the label off of the reel for the show. He took the label off and he put it on a blank reel. And when George was looking, he erased the show. Yeah. Poor George. Almost had a heart attack. Well, the guy that did it was Art Rife.
I remember him well.
You know, and I can remember in the early days, there was a young fella who we hired, and this is when videotape was prototype equipment, no instruction books, and everything was adjusted, and you were very afraid to touch anything. And we hired this young guy, and he come in, he walked in the door, he turned every knob into place. And I says to Tom Flynn, who was our chauffeur, we got to watch that guy. Well, you know who the guy was?
Don Raybrigham.
No, the guy up there taking the pictures.
Warren
Kaler, yeah.
Maybe he don't remember, but I know a couple of things happened to me on the night shift. One night we were playing back Steve Allen. It was a two-reel show.
I remember that.
Do you remember that? A two-reel show, and the TD was saying the thing's banding out. So I took the cotton glove. I was going to clean the head, and the cotton glove got all wrapped up in the head, and the what do you call those little wires around there?
All ripped off.
Everything was ripped off. So he went to the second reel, then we went back to the first reel. We were going back and forth from one reel to another. And that wasn't funny, but it was exciting. And one time I was cleaning the head with my thumb, and you can see what happened. I mean, my thumb got all cut and blood all over and stuff like that. You know?
When you were in Telesing, as being an excellent maintenance guy, a guy that's on top of things, there were some problems where the guys were not watching Channel 7, and somebody blew some commercials, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right.
And the company offered an edict that people were no longer to watch any other stations, no more ball games.
That's right.
No more football games from foreign stations.
No more football, nothing.
And you made sure that they followed that.
Right.
How did you do that?
Well, I put them on the TV set in a locker down at the end of the room.
Yes.
And put a switch on the door so that anytime anybody came in the door, the video switched from
Channel 9
to the house feed. So anytime management came in the door and we'd be watching the ball game, everybody would
just be like they were watching the house monitor, as soon as they open up the door, yeah.
I remember that.
Years ago, when the transmitter went off the air, or rather, I should say, when we had a failure, Chicagoland was dead for ABC. Nowadays, there's backup equipment, and there are very few outages. The longest outage that we ever experienced, if you remember the show Super Circus, the Duker and I were on duty that day, and we had water-cooled tubes those days, and the water hose broke and created havoc. We were off the air for virtually an hour on a Sunday afternoon. And that is the worst I ever experienced. But nowadays, it's a snap. It's not Ulcerville anymore.
Andy Forgash and I were on. He forgot his keys, and I slept in. He had to break into the workshop window in order to get the transmitter on there. After a couple hours at work, I looked down. Here's my pajama legs sticking out of my pants. No, we didn't tell anybody.
Statute of limitations is passed. So.
Right. We did make it on the air.
Yeah, we were at Andrews Air Force Base, which I happen to remember.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a funny bit, yeah. You were standing on top of one of the semis.
Yes.
And we were using English cameras, that's right. Marconi's.
Marconi cameras,
right,
that's
yeah.
correct.
We had the black and white, and we had the old zooms on with the old push rod. And I remember when you tried to lift the top up, you were gonna, I think, adjust a filter in it. And you forgot the zoom rod was in it, and you bent the hell out of the zoom rod. We had one hell of a job straightening that rod so it would go again. Who were we shooting?
We were we were going to do the president, something.
Johnson.
Johnson was coming in town.
Johnson it was, yeah.
We were big time then, weren't we, Bob?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God
real big.
almighty.
Real big. I'm bigger now, though.
My last week here was, would you believe this, a vacation.
Oh, no.
How's that for really timing things?
Yeah, right.
So I spent the last week here sort of regrouping. I stole everything, right? The drawing board, everything went home with me. I stole everything. With a building pass, yeah. So I guess management sort of conceded on that one. But I got it all home, and I'm sitting at my drawing board every morning. I have a very small apartment, and I had to put it in the bedroom with me.
Oh. We could think of
That's
better companions.
the only place I could put the damn thing.
Oh, okay.
But Owens told me, he says, Robbie, he said, you've been sitting at that drawing board for 38 years. He said, take the damn thing home with you. He says, we couldn't bear to see anybody else sitting at that thing. So I took him up on it. I was going to offer him $100 for it. Take it out in the alley and burn the son of a bitch. But anyway, it's in the bedroom with me. I told my friend Lorraine, I said, Lorraine, I got that drawing board home with me. It's in the bedroom with me. And I said, I woke up this morning, and the first thing I saw was that damn drawing board. She said, you mean you're sleeping at your drawing board? I said, yeah. She said, well, different strokes for different folks.
Someplace, and I was working the night shift at the transmitter, 5 to 4 to midnight or something shift, and they came in pretty well loaded from this fishing trip. And they said, we got a bear in the car, and they were fishing, and they were crossing this lake. And there was a mother bear with 2 cubs. And they divided them, and they brought one of the cubs back with them. So they said, would you keep this cub out the transmitter for us? I said, well, what do I do? He said, well, build a little shed for it and just keep it out here.
And where's the transmitter located?
At Tinley Park. Tinley Park.
Same place.
Same place, yeah. So we had this bear. I made a little collar for him, and we had a little house in the back for him. And we had him for about 3 or 4 months. And he liked rolls and honey and stuff. I'd bring him and feed him there. And this one Sunday morning, little black bear, and he got to be maybe about this high or so. And this one Sunday morning, I came in there to feed him, and I had some rolls. I went to reach out rolls to him, and he just leaped out at me, just like a gruff, and reached out. And so I told Homer, we better do something about this bear. Because it looks like he's feeling his oats or something like that, and it's going to be bad. So a funny thing happened. And what he was doing, it was getting towards fall, and he was scraping grass into this shed. Well, anyway, the next morning the bear was gone. He broke the collar and he left. This was at Orland Park or Tinley Park.
And we were doing a show called Uncle Mistletoe. And it was a very good show. It was sponsored by Marshall Field. It was about a 15-minute show. We used to go about quarter to 6 to 6 o'clock. And I remember one time I was working this show and I was on camera, and I'm kind of short. And what you did in those days is you had the camera on the puppets, and then at the end, the camera I was on, they used to have credits, like at the end of the week. And the credits, the way you did it, you turned the camera around, you panned up to the top, and then you started to pan down. And so I says to the floor manager, I says, if I don't turn around fast enough, spin my wheel up so I'll be able to get in position. Well, it turned out I used to work pretty fast, and when the show was over, he didn't see it, and he turned the wheel around, and my camera was like about way up where I couldn't even see. I couldn't even see the viewfinder. So I turned the camera around and up, and I focused up at the top where the identification was, and I just panned right down. And the damn thing was in focus. It was amazing. I did it without a viewfinder. Like I said, it was just, we did it with just pure luck, yeah.
They were scrambling for crews, and Brimner and I went out. And at the airport, I had the pilot take the door off the helicopter. Well, Dick had never been in a helicopter for a starter. So, he was a few trepidations about it. And he says, nothing to it. And then when he sees the pilot taking the door off, whoa, I says, and I kept saying, it's like going for a ride in a convertible, there's nothing to it. But anyway, we came back, we had a few laughs about it. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed working with everybody at ABC.
Yeah. I think they enjoyed working with you,
well,
too.
I hope so. I had a lot of fun there and met a lot of nice people, and that's all I can say.
Well, I'm trying to think of something funny that happened, but when you're in 25 years in maintenance, right, that's not the funny department. It's not the studio where you can talk and tell stories in between shows all day.
No.
So when you left 15 minutes early, they let you know about it.
Are you going to stay in Chicago?
No, we have we have a condo in Titusville, Florida. We go down there in the winter, then come up here. We hope to be able to maintain two places because the wife, Mary Stella, was born in Glen Ellen, and I was born on a farm between Lombard and Glen Ellen. So we have all our relatives right here. So, but our only grandchildren we have are in Lexington, Kentucky, but that's on the way to Florida. So we can stop there, and they got a nice big home, and we enjoy that. So it works out well.
Well, I like doing news was always fun back, 8-10 years ago, until they started going downhill. As long as they were number one in the ratings, it was so much fun to work with them, But then they got uptight real quick when they started to go down to second place. Well, the one I enjoyed doing was probably a Giggle Snort. That kind of stuff was fun to do because you really had to work with it and create something. All the effects you used. We didn't have the fancy DVD switcher that you got now. Trying to do things the same way. And, but those Saturdays were fun on Giggle Snort. And it was always with Randall Lincoln and Perspectives. We were doing 5 of them on Sunday afternoon.
Right.
Which wasn't so much fun.
No. Well, but did you enjoy working for ABC?
Oh, sure. I think that's one thing I've been very lucky that way. I never minded coming to work. I've known people that hated to get up in the morning because they didn't want to go to work, and I never felt that way.
Hate to leave, but I know it's time to go and try something else. Like I told somebody, 20 years I spent in Pennsylvania, growing up with the family.
Right.
Then you go in the Navy for 3 years. Then the next 40 years I spent in Chicago with my career in raising a family. Now I hope to spend the next 20 years either on the West Coast or Arizona, trying a new life. And I want to get out of this one so I don't wake up in the morning thinking I got to get ready for work. I want to start out fresh, and if it's totally different, I'm going to try something different. And if I don't like it, I'll go some other place. But I want to get out of here and not involve thinking, because I know if I sit here at home, I'll be thinking about work a lot, and I don't want to think about work. because I know I'm quitting and I want to try something else.
We would like to take just a moment to bid a fond farewell to a man who has been a mentor to dozens of engineers over the years. He is our technical director, John Masinchek. Mace, as he is known around here, has just spent his last evening, there he is, in a Channel 7 control room. He's retiring tonight after 36 years and countless newscasts here at WLS. We want to wish him and his lovely wife, Rose, the very best of luck as they begin this new chapter in their lives. And I am speaking for all of us here at Channel 7 Mace when I say we're going to miss you.
Treasure, but we still must grow. The best is yet to be. Can't guess tomorrow, but we know, we know, we know. So make your finest try and set your sights as far as you can see, and raise your spirits high, because the best is yet to be, to be, to be. Treasure, but we still must grow.